I had it set up. It's preparing.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I had
That's
it
on.
set up.
Let's see. Now we have an
It's
echo.
preparing.
Okay, there we go. All right. We are good to go.
Well,
Yes, we've had many adventures
yeah.
since we last.
Geez. So police didn't help with that situation today.
No, they're just totally useless. They say they can't worry about things like theft because they have too many murders.
And what state was this?
It was Kansas City and on the Missouri side.
Okay.
Kansas City actually covers over two states, Kansas and Missouri.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah,
is there a lot of murder activity there and stuff?
apparently, apparently it's pretty bad. So, yeah, it was yeah, we had a hitch lock on it and they just cut it off, hooked up and just drove away with it.
Oh my God.
I know. I know. Quick change to plans, right?
How'd you guys get back then?
Well, we had our truck.
Okay.
Our truck was in a different location than the RV. Yeah. If the truck had still been hooked up to the RV, they would have actually had a lot harder time stealing it
Yeah.
because they would have had to break in and steal the truck and alarms would have gone off and everything. But as it was, yeah. So, dang. So where are you? What are you doing? Did you pass all your tests?
Yeah, last term. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I got one of the best grades I actually had. But I'm still in school now. I'm
Yeah.
probably actually gonna extend to winter as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, just because of how things are going. But you sent a very interesting video, evolutionary psychology video, and evolutionary psychology is my favorite fucking topic.
Yeah,
So
well, the one on the singing Neanderthals.
yeah, and language, right? And so they were saying, to sum it up, we were before language, we were using song and like our sonic abilities, right, produced by mouth or other instruments, right, to communicate to one another, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Even like very specific things like you have to go that way when you reach the mountain and whatever, right? In song, we would communicate this. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we still do like up until when writing happened,
mhm,
right? Everything was oral tradition.
mhm. Yeah. So that the professor that was being interviewed is he's actually a Canadian neuroscientist uh
Right.
uh in Montreal, McGill. And I think that he runs actually one of the most interesting labs, which is it's like the cognitive science of music and sound, right?
Right. Yeah.
So interesting. That's like
Right.
that's one of my favorite topics. Like I mean, because it's so unique and specific, but profound. The implications are so huge.
It blows away our whole aspect of who we think we are because we get so stuck in the language that's in our head, right?
Yeah.
And we don't realize that that's like just a very recently kind of self-imposed thing that's on there, particularly like English
Yes.
language.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, I've like in weird ways, I've kind of become very present and almost had like minor mystical experiences just reflecting on language itself,
Right.
right? So
Or
it's
reading what's underneath language,
mhm.
right?
Yeah, well, it gets you there, right? So
Yeah,
when you understand, okay, what am I doing like right now, right? I'm just making sounds.
right.
Somehow it's being coded and registered in your brain as something meaningful.
I
But
know, and that's
you're just
amazing. Yeah,
so that right there is just like, okay, well, there is like experience itself is more raw. There is a raw experience underlying all of this languageizing that we're doing, right?
uh-huh.
So crazy.
Well, Buddha said in the Diamond Sutra, he said, thoughts arise from silence.
Yes.
So he was able to see that exact same thing too without any sort of neuroscience, just from
Yeah.
his own experience, that the thoughts sound very loud, but you pay it to where are they coming from? There's
Yes.
this deep core, and maybe we should revise that though to thoughts arise from music.
Mm. Yeah.
And so there's also a concept, what is it? Tat Sat, Hariom Tat Sat. And so Osho would always talk about this, and he said it's called the sound of silence, or the mystical sound, and that there's like this hum that like, so when you go all the way down to silence, it's not actually silence. It's like this, you can hear the hum
Is it
of
hum
the
or
universe, and I think you've heard it before.
yeah.
When you go down to that zero,
Yeah.
and then it's just like zzz.
Well, I've heard people hypothesize that it's Om, right? Like,
Yes, of course. Yeah. Uh-huh.
so is that the hum and the Om are kind of like
Right.
similar.
Well, the Sufis say it's who.
Who?
Who.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, like who Allah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, I mean, which one's right? Let's go to
yeah.
war.
Ugh, we've had enough of that, bro.
Right. Yeah, but,
Um,
I like the idea of, everything started with this musical tones. So when you remember Sandtalk and Tyson Yunkaporta, so he says the most important relationship is the mother singing to the baby.
mhm.
So just think that that's kind of how we all first start, with the mother singing to the baby, right?
Okay,
And it
so
doesn't even matter what she's singing, but it's
yeah,
like, yeah, lullabies and
yeah, yeah,
yeah, and so that's probably how communication first
yeah,
started. Like, we tend to think that it would have been out on the hunt, right?
yeah, yeah.
Let's go get a deer, ooh. But no,
Mhm.
it probably started with the mommy singing to the
Mm,
baby,
mm.
and then the baby tuning in to the mom, because that's how everybody starts.
Yeah,
And when you have a society that's based around with that as the center of what coalesces us together, then
mm,
you've got like harmony between every single person in the tribe, because everybody's a part of it, dad, mom, uncle, grandma,
mm,
niece, nephew, cousin,
mm.
everybody's in there.
Well, that's just the thing. Yeah, like music has so I think we're all biologically wired to just be fascinated with sound and music, right?
Mhm.
I just think that's part of the human experience.
Right.
Um, and so I've seen that in my own life. There's a huge love for music, right?
Hmm.
You see a lot of the mystics, Hazrat and Yat Khan, right? They'll have music as part of spiritual practice or a way of expressing this stuff. Like that
Right.
is actually a method of teaching this stuff is through music. A lot of the mystics would do.
Well, and being a musician, that it takes a lot of concentration and being in the moment
Yeah.
to be in there in the rhythm,
Mhm.
right? So I
Mhm.
don't think it's just sounds. I think,
Yeah.
part of music is also the rhythm and the
Yes.
and the moving of it. It's
Yeah.
not a Yeah, it's a totally different thing to be playing the music,
Oh, 100%.
be in it, and to work on having that skill than
Yeah.
just being a consumer
Hmm.
of music. Yeah.
I also noticed this. So freestyling, as in like rap freestyling.
Right. Yeah.
uh, to me, it's always been a fun game to play, right? It's putting on a
Right.
beat and then trying to just like communicate while being on flow for it to have
Uh-huh.
rhythm, for it to make sense, and for it to rhyme, right?
Right.
And
Right.
for that, I was like, it needs concentration in the present moment. Anytime my mind wanders on anything else, like I won't be able to flow or rhyme or think. Like it needs it, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and oddly enough, I've actually found like freestyling as like a cool meditative practice for myself too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because your brain has to go really big
Yeah.
in order to do it, and you can't have those extraneous distractions.
Yeah.
You
There's
got to
actually
stay in
some
there.
very talented freestylers. I'm interested in showing you. I think you'd like them a lot. It's actually really
Oh,
cool.
okay. Yes.
It's almost like a new skill too, because
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it's really unique to Western and English language too, right?
I think
Because
it's really common to African tribes, however.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I
and
mean, that would actually make sense too. Yeah,
yeah, a long time ago, I read a thing about particular tribes, or like, well, you know how in Native American we always see the shaman, right?
yeah.
But in these African tribes, like instead of a shaman, it was kind of more like a rapper, somebody that,
That's so sick.
and just think of their rhythms that they have too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'll have to search and find that again. I read that really a long
That's cool.
time ago. And like some of the really great movie stars that we have can just, just like rap.
Yeah,
I mean, just free form, just
yeah.
yeah, just talk, 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 talk. Yeah, yeah. That's a big
What
skill.
names are you thinking of? If any,
Um, Names are escaping me. I got,
yeah.
I got.
Okay.
Um, I'm thinking of Bad Boys.
Bad
Who's the
Boys.
guy?
Yes, yes. Will Smith.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so but I do so the video was featuring I think actually like two neuroscientists, right? Um
Right. Well, it was Neil deGrasse Tyson, and then the guy he always talks to. I can't remember his name, and then this music guy. So there's three of them
okay.
actually
Okay.
talking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Um and so interestingly enough, I stay around the neuroscience department in my school, right? So I'm and it's like my favorite professors. And they're almost like all mystics.
Well, yeah.
And it's so interesting. I mean, like if anyone goes into a neuropsychology course, I don't think that you can really leave without having some kind of mystical ideas. Uh, to expose him, actually, he was on YouTube showing us videos, and I even saw Jiddu Krishnamurti
Yeah.
as a right. I was, I saw that, right? But I mean, it's because I think spirituality focuses a lot on the human experience, right? Like meditation is, we're doing things with the human experience, observing the human experience, right? And scientifically, and neuroscientifically, that's also what we're studying this on a biological level. Uh, so it makes sense that, I mean, truth is truth, and there's so many different paths to it, right? So we're obviously going to arrive at the same conclusion if using different tools to get there. But it's really interesting to see neuroscience as the field that really exposes these truths to like the West in this kind of way.
Yeah, like the damage of structured and fixed thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it can actually damage your brain.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Because we live in such an information-based society, right?
Yeah,
So,
facts and memorization and uh-huh.
mhm. And language, thoughts, right?
Right.
Um, and we take these. I think there is, yeah. There's like an illusion going on where facts are facts or language is facts, concepts are facts, right? Instead of tools, instead of things that help us just
Right.
understand and live, right?
Maybe the biggest breakthrough will come when people start realizing, like mass realizing, how easily we are brainwashed.
Yeah.
Right, because when you start realizing that, when you realize, and music can brainwash you. You know how a tune gets stuck in your head, right? And so just kind of start listening to the messages that are actually coming from our um, typical, well, like country western, right?
yeah, yeah,
I mean, there's really a lot of very damaging psychological messages kind of
yeah,
constantly being uh, sent out through
yes.
that. Yeah.
Well, that's well, that's the interesting thing, like spiritual practice seems to me just a practice of uncovering lies, right? And
Right,
and
right.
that's really all it is, because you're not becoming anything, because you are what you are all the time. Those,
Exactly. Yeah,
before enlightenment, after enlightenment, whatever, right?
right,
But what's
right.
actually happening is the uncovering of lies, right? Like, I mean, you're seeing more clearly through these lies, I guess. Yeah, these beliefs, right? Like, I
Uh-huh.
mean, it's
Yeah.
really just decoding the belief systems, right?
Well, one would hope so. Maybe we should define it that religion is trying to solidify a lie.
Yes, yes,
And then
literally.
lots of times people will come out of one religion and go into another religion,
Yeah.
and all they're really doing is trying to replace lies that they've seen through with
I-
lies that they haven't seen
It's
through.
so interesting, right? I
Yeah, I know.
know. It's very, very
Yeah.
interesting.
And they get so stuck. And but it's very uncomfortable to realize how deeply we've been lied to, because then it's like, so what's real?
Mhm.
You get real, it's uncomfortable, it's
It's
scary.
uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. And I was actually having this conversation with my friend yesterday. Uh I forget what it was, but I said I forget the statement he said, but I said I said something like, "Oh, what would that violate if your belief was untrue, right?" And then he'd be like, "So much, like life would be so scary and uncomfortable." But like that's what it is, right? Like I mean, it in raw experience doesn't have beliefs intrinsic to it. Like I mean, beliefs are it's an added thing onto our experience, right? Like you
Hmm.
can't look at experience and find a belief, right?
Hmm. Right.
And
Which in a
that
way is unfortunate, because when you get rid of all the lies and you get down under beliefs, you're down underneath language. And there's
yes,
no way to describe it to anybody.
yes, yes.
Right. So it's like, okay, so now how do you break through somebody's
Well,
shell?
well, again, I think if we're gonna do it with teaching, with using language, I mean, Jiddu Krishnamurti was he had something special going on, which was, it's something teaching like the word tree isn't the tree, right? The description is not the described, right? And it's like, okay, well, this is a starting point when it comes to like teaching this stuff, right? Uncovering lies. It's like, I think that is a great starting point. My professor would probably say it in a more sophisticated way, like the semantic representation is not the phenomena itself, right?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I know. But it's cool because like we can use very precise descriptions to describe processes that are undescribable, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
it's like, and so this is what's cool about neuroscience and the science,
Right.
right? It's like
Mhm.
science is really useful uh for helping us just really just make a lot of these teachings more clear. Like for example, and a lot of the teachings are just so obvious it's almost stupid. Like the word tree is not the tree. Like it's so
I
obvious
know,
it's
right?
stupid. But like we forget that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why it actually comes back down to the veil is thin.
Yeah.
I understand that, like that makes so much sense to me
Hmm.
because it's very subtle, but it's very
Well,
obvious.
all this new neuroscience is like really, really new.
Yeah.
I mean, like what we're talking, what, 20 years or something?
Yeah.
Like that it's been, so it's like still really growing, and but it's making a profound difference, I think, on your generation. Like I was at a dance camp and there was this young gal there and she was really great. She got totally blissed out, but she was very conscious about it still. And so I was talking to her about it, and she said, she was like 22, and isn't it like it's not until you're 23 that your
25.
25 that your
Yeah.
brain is finished
Yeah.
forming.
I
And
still
so
got a
she,
year.
yeah, so she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, well, my brain's still forming." And I'm like, whoa, what an amazing uh, experience to be in, to be, I mean, because when you're 23, I mean, you're grown up, you
Mhm.
know, I mean, you're out in the world and you got your own things going on, you know, you're not a child anymore at all. But to be like, so when I was 23, we were the hippies, right? We thought we knew everything. So what an amazing to come in from science for people to be growing up knowing that my brain is not fully
Yeah.
formed yet. It's like,
Yes. Yes.
whoa, what an
Oh,
opportunity
oh,
to
yeah.
be yourself, you know, to have to take charge over who you're becoming.
So this is why I say, you know, one of the reasons I love evolutionary psychology and neuropsychology so much is because you can't learn this stuff without the natural occurrence and onset of humility. It humbles you, right?
Oh,
Like
right.
it's just like, oh damn, we're from the animal kingdom, bro. We were like we're still in an evolutionary phase of survival. Like if any we're still in it. This is why we have murders, right? Like I mean, this is
And
why,
they, and they
right?
steal my RV.
Right? And then like we have all these social emotions, right, that respond to
Uh-huh.
it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we haven't figured a lot of things. Like we're stupid, right? Like
Well,
in
we're
a
stupid and brilliant. I mean, we're
limited.
also
I
oh,
like limited, right?
yeah, limited. Yeah,
And
yeah.
but at the same time very brilliant. At the same time capable of so much, right?
Thought process is so limited.
Thoughts are limited as hell.
Thought process. Yeah.
And when we talked about this, it's because of their fragmentary nature, because they're fragments and they uh they categorize, dichotomize, right? We
Right.
look at things as good or bad, right or
Right.
wrong.
Right. You
These are
can't
very
label.
limited concepts.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So realizing that that's happening in your brain, that's a huge breakthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems to be very compelling because it's kind of like the ideas from that are starting to seep out into
Mhm.
regular society. Of course, it's seeped out into marketing as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marketing, people can study that and then also study marketing and then just know how to manipulate people
Yeah.
on a mass scale very easily.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we're constantly subject to it. Like it's just we're all on our phones, and I think the ads and the algorithms just know how we work for sure. I mean, I'm on YouTube and I just see exactly what I want to see. Like that's
Yes.
them.
Right, right. And you get in a bubble that just constantly convincing you that, you know, um, yeah, like I have this one friend who just totally believes in aliens, right?
Oh hell
So
yeah.
everywhere she goes, she sees aliens. And
Yeah.
but what's really funny about it is that she believes so hard that the aliens are going to come and teach us how to be humans. It's like, no, wait a minute. We're
Interesting.
already humans. We can figure that out.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they're going to teach us how to go into our higher dimension of ourselves or something like that. But, you know, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Study a little history and
Yeah. Yeah.
we know perfectly well how to do that already ourselves. Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Uh
So these new stories that are coming in are very, very powerful.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, so I went on your website and I read your blog, right? Like the story. Your enlightenment story, I think, or
Oh,
like an
right. Yes.
introduction to you. I forget what it's called. But yeah, interesting. Very cool. I was gonna say, well, the part that stuck with me the most is you know, enlightened, but if you see her on the street, she's just like your ordinary gal, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's cool. And that's also I think that's actually one of the reasons why I found you very compelling too. And I just wanted to talk to you because I do have an attraction to like ordinariness or people who understand that, it's it's not superstitious. It's not beyond. It's not a conspiracy, right? And we're not approaching it like that. We're not, it's something that's just here. It's not we're not even functioning in the realm of belief or superstition at all, right?
Right.
So,
Relaxed ordinariness. It's because you've touched humility.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what
So,
is it about humility? Because, well, you can have fake humility, of course. We're not talking about that, but
yeah,
um, uh, there's something about it that's really necessary. Otherwise, you'll constantly be sucked into magic and
yeah,
uh, desires for power and
yeah.
specialness.
Yeah. Well, um, it's like there's an interesting word that Krishnamurti would always use, and that's comparison, right? And it's just like, oh, we are this way. We have all of these lies. We don't see things clearly because of comparison. Like that's like the hypothesis. Uh, like comparison gone haywire, right?
Right,
So, comparing what is to what should be, right? Comparing yourself to another causes shame, right?
right.
Comparing, yeah, your dreams with reality, uh,
In
comparing
Zen talk, he calls it the better than or greater
better
than.
than, better
Better
than,
than.
greater than, or
Yeah.
less than, right?
Or yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, less than can kind of be better than because it's like I am the worst.
yes, yes, which is
I'm the
ego too,
most
right?
humble.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I'm the most victimized that there's ever been.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Right. So comparison, that's a good yeah. Well, comparison, you have to be separate in order to compare, right?
so that's a big thing going on too, right? And it's just
Right.
like, okay, well, comparison, like I have this hypothesis that, we probably don't know who we are on a large scale because of we're using survival tools for understanding life. We're using survival tools for understanding ourselves and for other areas of the human experience. For example, thinking, right? Thinking and conceptualizing the world evolutionarily, this helps us survive, right? Like to be able to conceptualize, oh, that animal over there is can eat me, right? To have this predictive model and to be able to compare myself and that animal is necessary for survival. But is it for understanding reality? We're using these same tools that are no longer beneficial, right? Like these
Yeah.
survival tools. So,
Yeah. That is kind of the way that evolutionary psychology is going at the moment, but flip that around the other way.
mm,
And that the human being, and this is what Sand talks about, and all the native teachers talk about, that the actual natural human being knew that they were connected with everything because they'd been taught that from the day they were born.
mhm,
And um, Tyson Yungapura says the problem actually is civilization.
Yeah.
So civilization gave us tools that cause our brains to malfunction.
Mm.
So then all of a sudden we're in survival mode. But he says, like back when we were in a tribe, nobody was in survival mode because
Mm.
they knew that they lived inside the most abundant place that they could possibly be. So they lived in such huge abundance that there was no survival mode. So, but ever since civilization has come into play and people have had private property and we've had kings and we've had hierarchy, then all of a sudden survival becomes difficult.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
flip,
I'm gonna have to
flip
read up
that
that.
story around.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I do have ideas that come to mind. Uh, just because, okay, so I don't know if it's Sufi. I don't know. I think they say Prophet Muhammad said it, but die before you die, right? Like this
Yes.
concept of dying before you die, right? And what makes sense to me is like, okay, well, I mean, there's so many implications of that, but one of them is like, okay, well, when you die before you die, you can let go of the survival tools for a second.
What if it's the survival mode that dies?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, right?
Right.
And so when the
Yeah.
survival mode dies, it's like, oh, things can become clear. And like,
Right.
it's like,
So survival mode is the problem, not the thing
yes,
that evolved.
yes. So
Like a
so this is
yeah,
why
yeah.
meditation for me, um, like a Satori experience, let's just say,
Right.
right? It's death, bro. Like for me, it is an experience of death, right? And
Right.
this is why there's probably still fear with it. But yeah, I mean,
But your
those things are
rapping
cool.
experience is an experience of life. So when you're in that
Yeah.
zone, you are out of survival mode.
You're out of survival
You
mode.
are just in flow mode, right?
But that's exactly why it can also be a scary experience for some, because it's just like, oh, I'm letting go of my my biological motivations to self-sustain me, right?
Or my
So,
clawing at reality to in order to
yeah,
be allowed to survive in it.
yes.
Right.
So, it's a very different way of or mode of consciousness than like this right here, at least for me, right?
Uh-huh. Right.
So,
Well, for everybody, I mean, we live in a society that's very difficult to survive in.
mhm,
Or maybe we should change that because actually you can always kind of survive, but to thrive in.
right.
It's a difficult culture to thrive in.
Oh, well, that's all we care about, right? Even the billionaires are thriving. What are you guys thriving for?
I know,
Right?
and they're all still worried and clawing for more and more and more, right? You know, how there's no in civilization there is no such thing as enough.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And then
because
that's just
because of that survival mode. Now, the natural human being living for 100,000 years, like out in the wild, there was always enough.
yes. Well, that's reminds me. Kirk Vonnegut is he's a author.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think there's like the story of him going to like a ceremony or award show for billionaires, right?
Uh-huh.
People just getting awards for being a billionaire. It's like so,
All
and
right.
then he went there with his friend, and they're just like, and we're calling up this person. Here's your award for making $2 billion this year, or whatever, right? And then Kurt Vonnegut's friend looks at Kurt and says, "Man, aren't you jealous of them? Don't you wish you had what they had?" And then he's like, "No, I have something they'll never have." And then his friend said, "What is that?" And he said, "Enough."
Oh, right. Yes,
And then
yes.
it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, very poetic, but like it's that uncovers a lot.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, that was probably one of the most profound stories.
Right, right. Yeah, like it was so amazing when our RV got stolen, right? Because really a lot of stuff got stolen.
Mhm.
But I still have so much stuff.
Mhm.
Look here, I'm sitting in my house.
Did you have a lot of stuff in the RV, like
Oh
phones?
yeah, tons and tons. We were heading to a, a dance, and so we had
Mm.
all our
Oh,
guitar.
the instruments. Oh shit.
Yeah, I had like my
Yeah.
Meinhardt flute and my guitar. Wayne had his Taylor guitar and his bass and his bass amp. And I mean, yeah, I had all my good clothes. Now I'm back in rags.
Dude, man.
My slippers, man. Yeah,
Right.
but it's like, so here we are. We really live in such an abundant
Mm.
society.
Oh
And
yeah.
yet we are so trained that you can never have enough, never have enough. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, man, my computer is so good at showing me gadgets that I just gotta have.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, who
No, I
invented
know.
that? Oh,
Oh
man.
man. Bro, so there's a
Yeah. So you as a neuroscientist probably know which little part of my brain goes activated when I see that thing. Oh, I gotta have it.
yeah,
My
the
whole
nucleus
life will be
accumbens.
fixed if I only have that thing.
Dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
We're,
so we
we're
live in such abundance, but we do not see it.
no, yeah, this is a craving of pleasure gone haywire, right? And
Ah,
that's the value system here.
yeah.
Uh, it's
Mhm.
when you look at what the primarily the West is primarily like founded on, what values a lot of our decisions are founded on. It's like as sad as it is, it's self-investment and pleasure, right? Like almost hedonism, right? Uh,
Totally
our
hedonism and
society, our society is
narcissism, right?
yeah. So self-direction, right? It's like self-directed values, achievement, hedonism, right? As opposed to other societies or the capacity of any human society, which can be fundamentally based on universalism and self-transcendental values. So like this is just not the case here. But I don't know if how long might take for it to switch.
Well,
I
all that has to happen is the supply chain break,
Mm,
and then we can't get stuff anymore.
that's good. True.
Yep,
Um,
we wouldn't
let's
know
see.
what to do. But I think what's going on in the things that you're studying is going to make a big difference.
Oh, it is. It already is. I mean, that's just a thing. I think so psychology, right? So like okay, like you had all these ancient societies, and I'm quote unquote ancient, right? But where they've been looking at the mind from the very beginning, right? Like
Mhm.
Yeah, Vedic psychology, Sufi
Right.
psychology, right? Um, in the West, we really just started taking like looking at the mind under investigation like 100 years ago, right? Like William James,
Freud
right?
and everyone, yeah.
Yeah.
And look at how that changed everything.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone you meet is psychoanalyzing everybody else, right? You
Mhm.
do anything and you get
Yeah.
psychoanalyzed for it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Everyone but ourselves.
Yes. Exactly.
So, but interestingly enough, right? Even in the West, William James, who is said to be the founder of psychology, right? Or the father of psychology, right, in the West and stuff, right? He himself ended up being a mystic, as well as like, I mean, honestly, like so many damn psychologists. I think like eventually it gets to a point where you start reading all these theories and things just start kind of aligning, and you're like, oh, okay. So what is consciousness? And who am I? What is
Mhm.
that? Right. So, uh, in a Western way, just taking like a Ramana Maharishi inquiry, right, ends up being a thing for like all. people who are invested in psychology, even the West. And what I'm trying to say here is that psychology is this is going to be the West's spirituality. Like like each kind of culture had their own way of expressing this stuff. I think in the West, the closest thing we have, because we also don't we all a lot of us are like allergic to religious systems and for good reasons. But psychology just seems to be the best spiritual practice for like the Western mind. And it really has been. Uh and I think that's just gonna expand more and more,
Well,
right?
as it can get more useful.
Yeah.
It's really like you said, what'd you say, 200 years old? 100 years
Yeah, like
old?
a hundred something.
Yeah, and a lot of it's been really quack stuff too,
Yeah.
right? But as it gets more useful and actually able to help people, and then the big, big thing right now, we have this huge stigma about going to try to get some mental health. But instead of going to get mental health because you're broken and something's wrong with you, what if instead you were going and trying to, going to someone in order to expand yourself,
Mm.
in order to be, grow and become, you know,
Yeah.
no, what?
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful you said that. I got a Vishwan short today, and
No,
it, I think he said it beautifully. Something on the lines of just like, oh, self-acceptance is the start of spiritual practice for like many of us. Like that, it starts there. Like, I mean, nothing can be done in knowing who you are, in the process of knowing who you are, until there's like I mean, self-accept. If you're denying who you are, you can't know who you are. So it just makes sense, right?
right. If you're looking for who you are and wanting that to be someone else,
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So it's just, yeah, of course, self-acceptance is a key feature.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, we're in a society where, I mean, we're taught to just not accept ourselves, to have an image in our minds and be like that image
Right.
or chase that image. And it's very illusory.
Well, and we hold each other to it a lot. What's that story about? You put the frogs in the water and you start boiling it and they won't go out. But if you drop a frog into hot water, it'll just jump out. But
Yes.
you just, the slow boil. Oh, no, 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 that's not it. You put them in the water and they hold each other down and
Hmm.
don't let each other, like one frog could just jump out.
Okay.
But you put two frogs in and they hold each other down. And so
Okay.
people do that. We like constantly give messages to each other that you're not good enough. You need to be like this.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's
And
really funny being female because every single other girl that I've ever known in my life just can't help but try to dress me up,
yeah.
fix me,
Yeah.
because I'm not good at dressing myself up. And it really, really, really bothers all the women I've ever met. And so they try, 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 try. But what's really funny is that anytime I'll meet a new uh, person, she'll just start trying to dress me up and trying to dress me up and trying to dress me up. And finally it'll all come to a head and she will like manage to get me dressed up
Mm,
and stops.
mm.
And I don't know why. Why do they stop once they finally get me dressed up? Because the next day I'm not dressed up.
Yeah.
So, but
It's very
that's the
interesting.
clawing, the trying to get me to conform, conform, conform,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not for you, it's for them, right?
What is that one song in the rock and roll song? All the girls dressed up for each other.
Who's that?
What song is that?
Is that the
Okay,
Beatles?
what?
Is that the
It's not
Beatles?
Beatles. It's like um,
Johnny Cash?
no, 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 no. It's more like Mick Jagger or somebody.
Oh, for real? Okay.
Yeah, we can find out. Here, Google. It is John Mellencamp, Wild Night. Yeah, all the girls walk by dressed up for each other. Yeah, John Mellencamp.
Mm, okay.
Hmm, see?
Oh, cool. 90s.
Yeah,
Oh, is it?
mm, Wild Night. Yeah, Wild Night is calling. Yeah, right. But everybody does that to each other, and our typical school process is a
Mhm.
process of getting people to conform.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
100%, right? I mean, that's why Vishwan is cool, man, because he has a bunch of videos on talking about like the school system, how it affects our thoughts and beliefs. Yeah,
Hmm.
he was mentioning how it's all about really just creating machines, right? Like
Yes.
work, like and that's almost like just really obvious. It's like we're not teaching art. We don't have like a who am I class. We don't have a mental health class like in grade school and stuff, or what are emotions. Not yet. I think these things will come, right? But
Oh,
that's,
really? Yeah.
yeah, I just don't, it's not there.
Well,
I
especially
mean
in
they have.
Canada, probably not down here.
No, like yeah, because I remember in grade school, like we did have like yoga class. Like I mean, or we had gym class and we do yoga, you know.
Mindfulness. They're
Mindfulness is
teaching
like in middle
mindfulness in
school.
schools. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I mean it's starting, right?
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see where it goes because actually the veil is very thin.
Yeah.
And so if it's not constantly reinforced,
Yeah.
it'll just dissolve away.
Hmm.
So if we can get to the point where we're just not constantly um, putting people into survival mode.
Yeah. Which kind of it's related. I don't know if you want to go into it next time, but this idea of shadow work, right? Uh
Right. Yeah.
and the significance of that, right? The role of it. Because it does seem like the case to me that if someone does the right amount of shadow work or is able to look at this stuff, like get to the point of like survival, right? Like it kind of comes back down to that, right? Uh, this whole knowing who we are thing becomes a lot easier when that's there. Because shadow work is also a process of uncovering the lies, right? Uncovering a lot of the stories that we play in our heads that are
Be
limited.
willing to look at the dark.
Yeah,
Right. If you want to find God in yourself and you think it's going to be nothing but light,
yeah,
you're going to just search and search and pretend and pretend and pretend.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, like there's this one person, I don't know if you ever heard of him, I think Scott Killaby, but he's done some videos for the page Science and Non-Duality.
Oh,
So
uh-huh.
he works as like a therapist and stuff. But he says that interestingly enough, he says that it's very helpful before any kind of spiritual practice to like focus on the traumas we have,
Hmm.
right? And
Right.
so this
Yeah.
actually, I think this is also what like Osho was trying to get at when he said, "Yo, before you guys meditate, do dynamic meditation."
Right. Uh-huh.
Like I think it's through dynamic meditation a lot of that stuff just pours out, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm.
Was that the case for you?
Yes. Yeah.
So like because of that, because of dynamic meditation, like I guess you didn't need to like see a psychologist to deal with all that stuff.
Oh, well, I was just so perfect to start out with. So.
Okay.
No, with dynamic meditation, it was really good. I think I have my story of that up somewhere too. Is
Yeah.
So I was living in this little commune thing, right? And there was so every Rajneeshpuram, Osho had got sent back to India, and the whole thing fell apart. And so all these people were homeless and didn't have any place to go. So a bunch of them came to live with me on my property in Idaho. This one guy, Swami Yogino, and so he says to me one day, "You're very manipulative. You need to do dynamic meditation."
Oh, I wonder what you did for him to say that. No, I'm joking.
Who knows? Anyway, so I'm like, well, okay. So I go in, I'd never done it, and I go in and you jump, 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 and then you sit down, and it's kind of like this brain vomit that happens. Just,
Brain vomit. I
it's
love
like, it's like a near-death experience, where you see the details of everything in your life, and I was like, yeah.
it.
So I thought, okay, well, yeah, I did that good. And
Mm.
so then the next day he says to me, "You're
Just
still very manipulative. You need to go do dynamic meditation again." I was like, "Argh." And so I go and I do it again, and boom, brain vomit. But what was so interesting is that it was exactly the same as the day before, except I could see every little thing that had happened to me from the previous day to that day added in.
Mm.
So it's like I had this big huge brain vomit, but I'd just gone ahead and just kept adding it in. And I
Mm.
actually saw myself getting up in the morning and putting it on.
Mm.
And I decided, oh, I'm just not going to do that anymore.
Getting
And
up.
so I never did, and he never told me to go do
Wow.
dynamic meditation again. So I must have changed.
Wow.
I mean, I
Getting
could just see myself putting it on. It's like, well, just don't put it on. And so I just didn't put it back on.
in the morning when you woke up or right after the
Just
meditation?
from that moment, I mean, it was gone.
Okay.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm just not going to put it back on again. It's nasty.
So
You know,
I'm
you know how
getting,
in India they talk about the monkey, like a monkey on your
okay.
shoulder? Yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah, monkey
Okay.
mind or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, we recreate that every day, like consciously.
Mhm.
So just don't do it.
So is it like memory? Is it just
It's more like vomit. It's more like that would be interesting to know neurally what the difference is, right? It must, but it was just very easy to just never put it back on again.
really?
Once I actually saw that that's not me, that was a separate thing than me.
Well, was it a decision or was it just almost just obvious just not to do?
It was just, well, it was a decision and it was obvious not to do because it's nasty. Like, um, I don't know how to describe it. But everybody walks around with this thing,
Yeah.
like tentacles.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
And you would say like those tentacles are like one's traumas, one's things that attachments.
Just all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, stuff that isn't real. None of it was real.
Okay.
So we constantly recreate the unreal. And so just don't do that.
Mhm.
I mean, but this is the part of the reason why I can't talk about this stuff. I don't have any, I don't know how to tell you how to do it. Did you ever do dynamic
I
meditation?
did. Man.
Oh, well, get the tape. You can get it online, I think.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Well, the way you described it's like, oh, it's shit. This is an intense experience. It's gonna,
Well, so I think what happens, oh, yeah. So you need to study this. So here's what it felt like happened. So you jump, 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 and then all of a sudden the music stops and you sit down. And so it's almost like you leave your consent and you sit down so fast that it can't get down there and it just falls off.
okay.
Yeah. So,
So, I mean, just to use the concepts, right?
right.
Uh, right. So, like, I think this is working on like the Kundalini energetic layer that
I
people say,
wonder, I don't know.
right?
Think more neuroscience like.
Well, I wish, right? But that's just the
So
thing.
what happens? What happens to make a memory form, right?
Yeah.
And
So,
what happens to make a traumatic memory more hooky
yeah.
than just everyday memory?
Well, I mean, this is just the thing, right? There is, it does make sense to me that there is an energetic layer of the human that is immaterial, right? And is like, makes sense to say like the life source energy, right? So like we have things like electricity, but why
Yeah,
is the electricity there? Like
yeah, our
what's,
body, it's all electricity, isn't it, that makes
yeah,
neurons in the brain
but
form together?
what's allowing the electricity to move? And right, so like this is why I actually do think, like a lot of Hindu uh conceptualizations of biology and medicine, right? They would add on to the human system the pranic layer, right? So the
Hmm.
energetic layer, right? And this is kind of where this weird stuff exists. So I don't know if it can be scientifically examined. Just in the same way that like thoughts can't be scientifically examined because thoughts are not we don't even have scientific evidence for thoughts because
Right.
we have correlates, we have neural correlations, but like thoughts itself we can't
So,
really.
but haven't they discovered there's a difference between electric memory and chemical memory?
Sure.
Hmm. See, I just lightly study this stuff, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
but it's yeah, so I mean I really don't like going there and using terms like kundalini and stuff because I think it's so misused and stupid, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of the times it is just like superstitious stuff, right? Um, so but yeah,
One thing Osho would always say about Kundalini, because he's like everybody's always wanting their Kundalini to rise, and he says the point of Kundalini is that there's an energetic field up and down your whole body, right? When it is operating optimally, you don't have Kundalini centers. All you have is just a flow. So if you do anything to work on this Kundalini or that Kundalini or to try to get them together, the more you try to work on it, the more you mess it up.
mm, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I was able to sit down underneath my thoughts,
Okay.
but it
Well,
felt.
because I mean they how long after uh I mean I kind of forget, but it was the day after Osho died, right? That's when you kind of
It
just
was
became,
when I heard that he died.
yeah, that you looked inside.
Yeah, right.
But
And so
how,
he had always said, when I die, you're going to be enlightened. And so the big difference was I looked assuming that I already was. And so
yeah.
I looked going, what's this like?
Hmm.
Rather than sitting there
Oh, nice.
waiting for it to
What's this
happen.
like? Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So two totally different things.
What's this like? I like that.
What's it like? Yeah.
And
Yeah. So
how long and like what was the gap between that and your dynamic meditation?
dynamic meditation had probably been several months before.
Several months before. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was already in a state of not really believing what was going on in my brain. Maybe that's what actually happened in the dynamic meditation is I stopped believing the crap that was in there.
Hmm.
Not that it went away.
Yeah.
I s- yeah, but I stopped. it was the attachment to it
Okay.
that went away.
Uh, I'm also gonna ask this question publicly, but in this one time you said uh people like Skylar and the other girl we were in a conversation with before, they just don't believe you.
No,
And
no.
I'm that's actually like yeah, so like I questioned that. I remember thinking just like I don't understand.
But
Right?
that
Like
has to speak to my ordinariness, right? People that actually know me just dismiss me.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
Because I don't put on any special, I mean, I don't even know how, I wouldn't even know how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you just gotta go like this.
Oh, is that what I do? I'm supposed to do?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
See,
yeah,
I
there you
can't
go.
even do it without mocking, right?
Yeah, I know, me too. I know. I
Yeah.
know. See, I mean that's another thing with me, right? It's just uh like I like intellectualizing things, right? So when I hear
I do
like
too. Yeah.
you just gotta love yourself and stuff, I'm just like, I don't understand, right? What's the science behind that? Right? So like yeah, I mean that's just how I roll. I mean, but a lot of the times it's I think people are just seeking a lot of social comfort and uh for reasons, still trying to look for someone that can give them that
Well, they're looking for spiritual status.
spiritual status, spiritual bypass, a lot of stuff, which
Yeah.
is
All that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And so, how does totally ordinary compete with that? Because you can't.
well, that's again, that's
What's
why that's Osho just made it so clear to me. I've always had a problem with, man, what is ego? And it's just like I feel so arrogant and stuff, spirituality and spiritual teachers keep saying, stop being arrogant, stop caring for yourself and stuff. Don't wear nice clothes or whatever, right? It's like, damn, am I being arrogant? Is this conflicting with my spiritual process? And then I saw Osho talk about Gandhi, and I was like, yes, no, that makes sense. And he's like, I know I'm ordinary. You guys see these Rolls Royces and stuff. I know it's bullshit and stuff. Like it's just whatever.
right? Right.
And that makes a lot more sense, even scientifically. It's not about the object itself, it's about the value you attribute to it,
Right.
right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. If you're trying to be something other than what you are, and we're all taught that you got to be something, you got to improve yourself. But I think one of the big secrets, and then we got to go, is can you laugh about it? Because when I'm around spiritual people, I am always joking and saying things like, well, I'm the center of the universe.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your problem is. So can you laugh at your arrogance and just see it as just human beings strutting around?
Yeah.
Gotta have some fun, right?
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. So see if you,
I honestly think that is actually so damn strong.
uh-huh. One of the other things I've just really picked up from all the studies I've been doing on all sorts of native stuff is that they used to just laugh all the time at just stupid things like there's this guy. So
Dude, if
there's
I write a book, I'm gonna title it Can You Laugh About It?
Can you laugh? Right, right. So there's this story. Okay, this guy, he lived up in the Aleutian Islands, way north, and he was hanging around with the elders, and so it was really the tribe had been destroyed, and so they had to sneak off and steal a kill of
Yeah.
seal and bring it home. And so they have to be really, really quiet. And so they're going and they get their kill and they're trying to drag it across over the snow. And all of a sudden he hears his elder that was teaching him is just like laughing and laughing and laughing so loud because every time he was trying to crawl up the hill, his pants would get stuck and his pants were getting pulled down and he was sitting there with his butt hanging up. in the air. And it's like they knew they had to be quiet, but they just couldn't. And they were all just laughing and laughing and laughing because his pants were getting pulled off,
Bro, like so like this is big to me because I don't know, it changes the story in the head. Right when
right?
you say, can you laugh
Yeah,
about
from
it?
the serious, well, like, oh,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
spiritual, right? The
Because like if
long faces Osho would always talk about,
wow, it takes
Yeah.
the seriousness out of whatever you
Out of
think.
being a human being. I mean, come on, look at us. We're nuts. I'll tell you another story. So I had this friend, oh, I had these two friends, this guy, he was a really sweet guy. And then there was this girl, she was this really, really super new agey perfect girl.
Mhm.
And so one day I go to the library and I see the guy come walking down. He'd just taken all his library books back. And I'm like, I can't remember what his name was, but I'm like, hey, Joe, how are you? And he's like, well, I just turned in my library books because I'm going to go kill myself. And I'm like, dude, why are you going to kill yourself? And he said he was going to kill himself because this girl didn't love him. And I'm not a very good
Yeah,
psychiatrist
yeah.
at all. I looked at him and I just started laughing because she was pathetic person. And I'm like, you're gonna kill yourself over her? And I just started laughing and laughing. I'm sitting there. I had to sit down on the steps of the
Huh.
library, and he sits down next to me and he goes, "What?
Yeah.
What?" And then he started laughing and
You
laughing.
started laughing too.
And we're both just laughing and laughing. He's like, I'm gonna kill myself over her. We sat there for about a half an hour just laughing and laughing and laughing. Then for years, every time he would come through town, he would come and look me up and he's like, thank you for saving my life. And I would just start laughing again. I'm just like, oh my God. I think that's more how human beings actually are. It's like, oh, there's a lot of reasons to kill yourself, but not over that chick.
Oh my God. That's so funny, bro. I don't even know that.
I
So
know.
like see the thing is I had when you said that, after you said, I want to kill myself over this girl, like it was in me to laugh, to just burst out. But and then I was like, wait, should I? Man, this guy.
But maybe I should get the video and cut that off because that's probably not good psychological advice to get.
No,
So
no.
everybody out there, ignore that bit.
Yeah, no, be sensitive. Well, that's
Yeah.
just the thing, is it possible to ask this question, can I laugh about it in a compassionate way? And I think it almost is compassionate. I think it
Isn't
brings about
laughter always
compassion.
compassionate? Because he just sat right down and just started. I mean, I
Yeah.
wasn't laughing at
You
him.
weren't laughing at him. It was
I
just
was
like,
just laughing at the just insanity of
yes,
the
yes,
whole thing. It's like, that's nuts, man.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Isn't that the way we
No,
are?
it is, it is. But that's just the thing, right? So you have I think what's going on is like is he's gonna feel so alone and isolated, right? And it was this girl that makes him feel connected and stuff, right?
Right,
Uh,
right,
we have like in the Bible the Mark of Cain story where he's isolated from the world and
right,
stuff.
right, right.
Why didn't he just think to laugh about it?
Right. Well,
Right?
he did, you know. He just needed to, it was like dynamic meditation. That's exactly what dynamic meditation does is just somehow the laughter took that thing that had gripped him and just broke it. So
Yeah.
it wasn't gripping him anymore, right?
Yeah.
There's actually a thing called laughter yoga. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I'm
Yeah,
found out. No.
this guy has this whole, he teaches laughter yoga students, and you actually just get together and get in a big circle and just sit there and just laugh about stupid stuff. And he has a lot of, I think he's got a lot of neurological research about how,
Interesting.
um,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm gonna look into that for sure.
yeah.
Holy
So I
shit.
bet there's
Yeah,
a
fact.
correlation between laughing that hard
Yeah,
and what happens in dynamic meditation.
yeah,
Yeah. Because when you see that it's not real,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Well, that's why I always thought, if for in order for the devil to like actually try to make people suffer in hell, he would have to take away their ability to laugh,
that's
right?
true. Right.
They're like that would have to happen because I think of like a character like SpongeBob, right?
Yeah.
And then like I'm just
That's
like,
Bob in hell.
well, SpongeBob's definitely going to hell, right? So it's just like, but the thing is, he's gonna be happy there. So I'm like, you're gonna have to take away his ability to laugh.
Right. He's going to ruin hell.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's how it goes. So it's so good. I think laughter is as funny as it sounds, it probably is like one of the most powerful medicines, right? As they do say.
Right. And I think it's like naturally human. It's a
Mhm.
natural human
Well,
response.
what it does is it just changes the tone of the stories in our heads,
Right.
right? So like, and this is almost like a good example would be like imagine you're watching an extremely scary story or a movie, right? And it's just like everything's silent, music's creepy, everything's creepy, the characters are scared. And then something like goofy just happens and the whole tone changes and everything's bright. Like you're not scared anymore. And it's like,
Right.
is this even the same movie? It
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Right. Right. You just notice something and it's like, that can't be true. And then
Yeah,
you realize how stupid the whole thing is and
there
just
you go. Like,
start laughing. Right. Right. Well, so I think we better end on that point.
yeah.
Anybody
Uh,
watching this will know that we didn't ever really say anything,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
hopefully they have some fun.
yeah.
Okay, well, thanks.
Thank you, Zareen.
Holding
Uh,
in while I,
we'll talk soon though. I'll
yeah.
FaceTime you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Talk to
Bye.
you soon.
Love
Bye.
you. Take care.